This is Codie. He is boarding here. His owner has moved into town, so we're looking after him. And he's very bonded with the sheep. He doesn't like them to be out of his sight. And now he has got a new friend, the little Duke as well. And so these are my rams. They're the fathers of the lambs in the field, and prime examples of North Country Tedwood sheep. He came to us, he needed a place to stay. It wasn't working out when he was he's a very dominant horse. So being around other animals besides horses, he seems to fit in perfectly here. And keeps everybody on track. And also eats a lot of the longer hay that the sheep don't eat. So she was a tiny, they called her the sweater girl. She had a little green sweater, and she was 4 pounds when she was born, but her twin brother was a whopping 14 pounds. So she's been bottle fed pretty much since birth because he needed more milk and groceries than she was able to get in there and get. So her name is Gemma, and she's half North Country and half Romney. Rams, and they are the mainstay of any flock. If there's only one thing that you can do to enhance your flock, you need a good ram. We've had this breed for over 50 years, and these two are sired from imported semen that we got from the UK. Chicken tractor, and it gets moved around once a day, so it's always on fresh ground. And right now they go in at night because it's unpredictable weather in the spring. And these are my laying hens. These are Indian runner ducks, and they They look like a bit like penguins. They're tall and slim, and they lay a lot of eggs, but they're also excellent on the farm for collecting, eating ticks and bugs, and we've had them for about 20 years, and we're maintaining the flock. My father used to work at the former Nova Scotia Agricultural College. When he retired, a pair of these were his gold watch. So these ones are just this year's ducklings, and they're pals, and they are looking forward to getting inside. So this is the family name, and my father was originally from Scotland and the hills of sheep, and my mother from Sweden, Canadian, but so in '72 they bought this farm and they did a lot of work to it, and but it's perfect for our breed of sheep because it's got rugged land, it's not much topsoil, and our sheep are used to that, given that they're also from Scotland. So unfortunately, in the past few years, my father passed away, and more recently my mother passed away a couple of years ago, and I have recently purchased the family farm and continuing on and expanding a few things here and there, and we're going from there. I'm a farmer. I'm a sheep farmer and a small business owner, and I do a little bit of everything. So I look after the sheep and through all the different seasons, and breeding and shearing and birthing, all of those things. And the wool business is we make wool bedding, comforters, mattress pads, pillows, as well as we sell woolen blankets and sheepskins, anything to do with wool really, or anything that will enhance the wool processing. And in that we also have a woolen mill, which started out as my own business here on the farm, and that helps value add to our own business, but also helps value add to other farmers. There is no per se women in agriculture supports, in my opinion. It was difficult getting into my own business because I wasn't young enough to be a young entrant and didn't have my own property. I was here with my mother on the farm, and so the business was enhanced with supports from a couple of grants from what is now Divert Nova Scotia. It was at the time RRFB, and the idea was to enhance not sending wool to the landfill. So that was my goal there. And also at the same time there was from the Rural Research Centre at the former NSAC, Nova Scotia Agricultural College, now DAL Agricultural Campus, there was a study about wool insulation and also wool wastewater, and that was here on the farm, and that helped me get my feet under me with my wool business. But in terms of supports, outside of the regular business acumen that the town of Truro put on, which showed you how basic business things like payroll and a bit of social media and that sort of thing, there wasn't any for my situation. In my experience, I have had nothing but predominantly positive experiences. Most people, because we've been here on this particular spot for over 50 years, people know the name. My father taught at the Agricultural College. My mother was a nurse, so they knew lots of people, and because I was helping my mother, they knew me also. So we've had very good feedback, and we've got a good name and history behind us. Being on my own, I've had lots of support from friends and family, and I've got my mentors as well, which in the most part were mentors of my mother and my father. So So that's been good. So I've had pretty good feedback. If people come to me, then they know that the job will get done. Because there's so many things going on, it may not be as timely as some, but they'll get the job done and it will be done well. So perceptions have been positive and feedback has been positive. The only barriers I've experienced were mostly from people that didn't know me and I didn't know them. So I went to a farm machinery show with my brother, who is a very tall man, and as walking around, it seemed that all of the salesmen were men and were all going over to him, and he was only there accompanying me. So, for example, I was looking for some electrical fencing equipment for the sheep, and I could not get a response from the gentleman there. He has since apologized, but that's really the only time that it was an issue. I was very fortunate when I came onto the farm because, well, for one, it was my haven. I was always coming back to the farm from traveling or doing other jobs in other places. And I was fortunate that my mother was a very strong individual. So even when my father passed, my mother, she started the Woolies business on her own and made the bedding, and she could do whatever she put her mind to. And if people said she couldn't do it, then she would try even harder. So I have that in the back of my mind always, to try even though it can be difficult. And so I received a lot of inspiration from her. In terms of other women, thankfully there are a lot of women in business in the Maritimes, and so social media has been very strong. And through meeting some of these women and communicating with them, I think the growth for women in agriculture is only getting stronger as we can share experiences and services and where to go for funding and that sort of thing. So I was fortunate that I had a strong influence, and I hope to be a strong influence for other women coming up. Another lady that was very inspirational to me is Marg Zelig, and she's got Zelig's farm in Scotch Village. And she was in the same situation, had a very strong mother, and they did tanning of sheepskin hides and vegetables, and they have a large flock of sheep and so on. But her mother passed away, and Marg has kept on going with the farm. And one of the things that Marg was the Canadian Cooperative Wool Growers Atlantic Director. And so for me, the only board that I ever wanted to be on was the same Wool Growers Board. So when she retired, then I took over her role. And so I am now the Atlantic Director of the Canadian Cooperative Wool Growers. So that means Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and Newfoundland. I try and speak for them as best I can in the board. And that board is a national body. There are 10 directors, and I'm quite pleased to be one of them. As a member of that board, I am also their representative on the Canadian Sheep Federation board. And as such, I am helping with their communications and some of their other strategies. And funnily enough, one of the inspirations is also women in agriculture. And they have also found that there's a lot of inspiring women out there doing innovative things. And so I'm very happy to be on both of those boards and have a say in agriculture. So the feedback on the farm has been, the feedback that I've received is about my passion for the wool and for the sheep farming industry. It's been, we are honest, we are hardworking, and everything has been positive to date, in my opinion. This has been a family farm since 1972 when we moved here, and there are 4 of us, quote, children, now adults, and when both of my parents passed, the farm I had first right of refusal to the farm, and so I've purchased it, and the ownership is just in the transition from the estate to myself, and I'm continuing on what my mother and I had started in the 10 years that we were here together, and so that includes the chickens and the laying hens, and during that time, that's when the woolen mill started and the wool shop, and those parts of the business where we also value add for other customers, that's 70% of the business. And meat, so that would include any lamb that wasn't up to our purebred genetics, or the meat chickens. We tried doing some pork last year. Those things are 30% of the business. And just a funny story, when we were manufacturing refurbishing the shop, it was the gentleman, the contractor, when we were finished, he didn't think that I would get up early enough in the morning because he would start at 8. And so he left me a little treat when he left, and he left me a rooster to help me get up early in the morning. And that was quite entertaining, because then my friend left me some chickens, and that started the free-range laying hens, and then the meat birds came along just naturally after that. And so now we have quite a diverse farm, as you need to do with lots of commodities in case the business changes one way or the other. So it's straight off the back of the sheep, and so when the sheep were shorn in here, these are the remnants. So these are the not good pieces of wool. For what we do, we make bedding, and it's a large fleece. It's probably up to 10 pounds, and you put it down so that when you're skirting, this is a skirting table. When you're putting it down, you put it so that the outside is up. That way, when you're folding it in, this is the part that somebody grading the fleece this is the part that they're interested in. So they can take different sections and determine how strong it is, the color, the amount of lanolin, that sort of thing, and you can go from there. And this is what we process in the mill. When my mother was here on the farm with my father, she started going to the farmer's market. She was making bedding from the wool from the sheep and lots of other handcrafts, and she started at the farmer's market where it was outdoors. So that was about 35, 40 years ago, and we've been going to the market ever since. And to this day, I still continue to go to the Truro farmer's market, and now have started in a couple of other farmer's markets as well. So those are our very valuable friends, the customers are now, and we truly thank them for all their time and effort to making this family farm a success. Going forward with the farm, I hope to continue with the sheep and purebred breeding stock and the wool, and with the introduction of the fine wool breed, that will give us a variety of options. Also, this is the first time that that breed has been available or has been around east of, well, I bought them in British Columbia, so they're not east at all to this date. So we're going to continue with that and continue with our bedding and exciting things in the mill. And in doing so and doing wool workshops and other sorts of things like that, I also mentor other people in what to do with their wool, where to sell their wool, how to process it, where they can source different types of wool depending on what they're doing with it, if they're felting or needle or wet or weaving. And in that, I've also met lots of other inspirational ladies like Delia Bird of Cobweb Woolies or Marilyn Rand, and those ladies have been truly inspirational for me. So now I'm learning how to dye yarn and fiber, and also using natural dyes, and spinning and knitting, which my mother tried to teach me when I was in grade 5 and I had forgotten. So now I'm happy to say that I'm getting back on track and going forward. So I'm helping, I'm doing my best to help other farmers and women in business if they have questions or if they need anything. I had trouble getting our wool processed, so that's why we bought the mill, so that we could do our own as well as help out other farmers to value add. And that's the going concern. I just have a passion for wool, and more people are appreciating all of its attributes, and also becoming passionate about wool and what they can do with it, from insulation to flooring to artwork. And that's why I do what I do. I just want to help other people become successful as well.